We have reached the end of our shared journey into the principles of Arabic music through the unique music of Middle Eastern Jewish communities. Throughout our course, we encountered the basic concepts that helped us understand Arabic music. We explored the concept of maqam, its unique intonations, the Arabic rhythmic perception, and other special musical elements. We also experienced the realization of these concepts through the musical pieces we learned to perform together. And we saw how this musical tradition is being explained in contemporary theory. The three pieces we studied, chosen for the significance in the piyut repertoire of the communities we covered in this course, provided us with valuable insights into the principles of Arabic music. And so, the mystical Alepian melody of El Mistater provided a deeper look into the structure of maqam scales and how they are expressed in practice. The Babylonian version of Ya Ribon Alam gave us a chance to examine the rhythmic perception in Arabic music in more detail, and through the piyut Ya Shema Evyonecha, we gained a perspective on the performance of the subtle intonations of different maqamat. We observed how sometimes it's difficult to explain theoretically what happens in practice, which brings to mind a striking observation from Professor Dalia Cohen's book East and West in Music. Professor Cohen notes that one of the characteristics of this musical tradition is that it has a theory that cannot be implemented in practice. This reveals a particularly significant gap between theoretical frameworks and musical reality. This gap serves as a powerful reminder that theory's role is to describe what exists in practice, and therefore it should be combined with active engagement with and performance of the music itself. Throughout the course, we tried to avoid direct comparison between East and West, presenting the Arabic musical perspective as it is. To conclude, I would like to return to the question we asked at the beginning of the course and understand together whether we can articulate one overarching principle to which we can attribute the common principles of this music and its difference from Western music. To leave you with food for thought, I will say that according to Professor Dalia Cohen, it is very possible to attribute all the differences between the music of cultures to one principle, the principle of separation. Even the terms East and West are concepts that were coined in the West, emerging from Western culture's need for clear separation and binary thinking, a dichotomous relationship that enables distinct contrast. We will soon see how all of this influences the music and explains much of what we have learned. In reality, there isn't such a clear separation between East and West, certainly not today. However, it would be helpful to use these terms when discussing the era up until the 20th century and examine the influence of the principle of separation. Outside the West, music is strongly connected to the world beyond music, from life cycle events and performance contexts to cosmic and other natural associations. Certain musical elements in some Eastern cultures still maintain a relationship with the hours of the day or seasons of the year, for example. We know that even the Arabic maqamat used to have connections to the days of the week, colors, astronomical objects, and even chemical elements. This integrated approach stands in stark contrast to the Western approach symbolized by two institutional spaces, the museum and the concert hall, where music is deliberately separated from daily life. This integration in the East of the musical world into the fabric of life and the universe can also explain the principle of preservation, making this music more resistant to changes over time. When all areas of life are intertwined and interwoven so that none of them has a separate existence, their ability to resist sudden changes increases. The Western tendency towards separation makes such changes more feasible and explain its drastic transformation throughout history, manifested in musical styles, rules of composition and practice, and even the development of the musical instruments themselves. That is not to say Eastern music remains static. This living tradition changes in different ways, some of which were discussed in a few of our lessons together. However, the rate of these changes is very different. Another manifestation of the principle of separation, which also contributes to the faster musical changes in the West, is the separation between different musical roles, a separation which does not exist in the realm of Arabic music. In Arabic music, we observed how the performer traditionally also serves as the poet, the composer, and the teacher. We even saw how the audience can influence the course of a performance. This differs markedly from the Western separation of roles between composer, performer, the role of a teacher, and of course, the separation from the audience. The role of the conductor is yet another distinct and separate intermediary. In light of the principle of separation, we can revisit many of the musical principles of Arabic music that we explored throughout the course. For example, we observed that in Arabic music the concepts of scale and melody are not entirely separated. There isn't really a scale that exists completely independent of what we termed melodic behavior. The concept of melodic nuclei or melodic motifs as they exist in Maqam is an excellent example of non-separation, a single unit composed of multiple elements that to those within the culture are inherently inseparable. The ornamentations, which in Western music are added to the melody, are inseparable elements in Arabic music, as we've seen, essentially constituting the melody itself. Additionally, we observed how in Arabic rhythmic perception, one cannot refer to meter as a separate concept as it merges with other rhythmic concepts to create the ika'at, what we called rhythmic modes. Other examples include the lack of separation between melody and accompaniment, where all performers participate in heterophony, and between performance and improvisation. My Andalusian music teacher Nino Biton would recall melodies by reading from a book of lyrics, singing the tunes as naturally as if reading musical notation, demonstrating how even words and melody can be inseparable in this tradition. Western music's tendency toward separation also manifests in the binary choices of raw material organized in this music. This stands in contrast to the variety of different building blocks found in music outside the West, specifically Arabic music. This can be seen in several key contrasts. For example, while Western music primarily operates within two main scales, major and minor, Arabic music encompasses dozens of maqamat. Similarly, where the Western scale results in just two types of intervals between consecutive notes, major or minor seconds, Arabic music employs 5 distinct interval sizes between consecutive notes, including quarter tones and other variations. As we saw in our lesson about the Piyut Ya Ribon Alam, even in regard to rhythmic organization, this binary tendency appears. Western meter distinguish between two kinds of beats, the strong downbeat and the weak upbeat. In contrast, Arabic ika'at organizes 3 distinct types of beats, the dum, tak, and es. In our lesson analyzing the Piyut El Mistater, we observed that while Western modes connect tetrachords in 2 ways, of course, through conjunct or disjunct connections, Arabic theory includes a 3rd type, the overlapping connection. As Professor Dalia Cohen wrote in her article Music in Different Cultures, binary nature enables organization into superstructure with clear directionality and overall complexity, which reached its summit in the classical sonata. In contrast, the variety of raw materials in Arabic music shifts the focus to the present moment, to the subtle treatment of the music as it unfolds, as we witnessed in the example of audiences stopping Kulthum's concert, disrupting the formal structure to hear her interpret certain lines again. The distinction in terms of overall directionality and focus might be compared to the difference between a book, with its carefully structured narrative arc building towards climax and its resolution, and a poem, where each line and word demands deep attention to its momentary nuance and resonance. Just as it is impossible to write a 400-page poem or compress a novel into half a page, each musical tradition has developed forms and expressions that naturally arise from its fundamental organization principles. I hope that the conclusion of our shared journey here can serve as a meaningful starting point for you to continue exploring these unique principles and, above all, to enjoy this music and the abundance of beauty and expression it has to offer.